Hello, Arendina Hannigan for Module 15. My third web-based technology that I'm going to talk about is Geogebra. Geogebra is an online grapher, but it actually does a lot more than that, and I'm going to show you some of the features that it's capable of doing here today. The three standards that I'm going to talk about here with Geogebra: ISTE for Teachers 1A, promote, support, and model creative and innovative thinking and inventiveness. Then for Teachers 2A, design or adapt relevant learning experiences that incorporate digital tools and resources to promote student learning and creativity. Then on the student side, ISTE for Students 5A, students formulate problem definitions suited for technology-assisted methods such as data analysis, abstract models, and algorithmic thinking in exploring and finding solutions. Okay, so let's get started by going to geogebra.org. Okay, you don't have to type in the /home, that will pop up. And this is the main screen that you're going to get to once you type that in. Notice I'm not signed in here. All of these features that I'm going to show you to begin with will be without creating an account. Okay, so we've got materials, GeoGebra, math apps, and downloads. First, let's go to the materials tab. And then it brings up all of these free online resources of things that have been created already on GeoGebra. Okay, so I'm just going to search something for us to look at here. Pythagorean theorem. And it's going to bring up all of the different activities that are based off of the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm just going to select one here and see what's going on. This is a proof without words, it says. Okay, so the app is loading here. And we've got these empty spaces and a slider here. So this is an interactive picture, and as we slide this through here, it's showing you the proof of Pythagorean theorem. Now let's try another one, because this one doesn't come with any resources. Let me look at this next one and see what this one has going on here. Okay, so this one is investigating the angle here. We've got Pythagorean theorem, and it allows you to adjust the angle here with the slider. Now, Pythagorean theorem says that the sum of the two legs squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. So in here, we've got our angle set in 90 degrees. We've got three side lengths, 3, 4, and 5. As we adjust the angle here, okay, you'll notice that the c squared is not equal to the a squared plus b squared. So it says this is false. It only works if the angle is right, so you can slide this through and see all of the other different angles here, and then you could type them in as well, switching it to 90 degrees. That says it is true. Now it says watch the graphical proof. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, Step 4, Step 5, Step 6, and we're supposed to compare these two, and you'll notice they're the same size. So another proof without words here. Okay, so a lot of different things that you can find on here, resources, without creating anything. Okay, so it's a good way to look for different ideas and just work with your students on letting them see more dynamic expression of what you're trying to teach here. Okay, so that's the materials section, and I'll sign in a little bit and show you what it looks like from that end. But let's go ahead and click on GeoGebra Math Apps. That's going to take you to the standard graphing calculator. Okay, notice we've got a grid here. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple examples of what you can do with the graphing calculator. Okay, you see all of the normal buttons that you would see on a regular calculator here, but we can also type it in this window here. Okay, I can graph the equation y equals, and then 5x plus 3. And then it'll graph that line for me. If I hit enter, I can graph another line if I wanted to. Y equals negative 2x and there's another line. Now I put 2 lines on here so we could talk about another feature here. If you notice, our first button tab on the top is an A with a dot. That is really just graphing a point. Okay, there's a point on an object. We can place a point on a line or a polygon. But I'm going to show you this intersection. Okay, often in math we have to intersect the 2 lines, and there's ways to do that. But using Geogebra, we can find the intersection quickly. This pop-up says select 2 objects. So we have to select the 2 that we want to intersect. I hit that line, and the intersection is there. It gives us the coordinates of the point in our little window here. Now, we can also go to the point A. If you right-click, it says Show Label here. If you go all the way down to Object Properties, it allows you to see exactly what you show. Now, it says show the name of the label, but you could also change it to the name and the value, or just the value. Okay, so that gives you the actual coordinates of the point. Well, in Object Properties, you also have the ability to adjust the color of your lines or your point. I'm on the point right now, so it's going to change the color of that point. If I go select something else, we can change that color of that line, and then you've got a real easy way to create a dynamic presentation here. Okay, so just some of the features to work with lines and points. Now, this is the algebra window. If we go over here, I'm going to close out of that. If I go over to these 3 bars, that is going to give us different menus and different options. That's where our file menu basically is here. Okay, we can go down to the view, and that's going to allow us to change the things we see, or we can go into math apps. This one right now is just in the regular graphing calculator. Okay, I have geometry clicked on for this next tab that I'm going to show you some things for the geometry. Okay, so how this looks a little bit different is, notice it's a completely blank screen, because with geometry we're using shapes and figures rather than on a coordinate system generally. Okay, so I'm going to go to this 4th tab over here, and that's a polygon. Now I can make a regular polygon so all of the sides and angles are congruent, or I can freehand draw a polygon. Now it says here select all vertices. Well, we don't have any yet, so if we just click, it will start creating a polygon for us. Then we'll click for another point, and we can connect it after however many we want. And there our polygon has been created. Now there's some other things that we can do with a polygon here. If you go over here, we've got this angle. We can actually find the angle of this polygon. It says select 3 points or 2 lines. Okay, so I'm going to select this line segment and this line segment, and it just found the angle in between. Now I'm going to make a little bit of adjustments here just to show you some of the features. Go back to my selection tool here, and then I can actually drag this angle on the inside so that we can see it. Now, if you right-click and go back to Object Properties, we can change the color of some of these things. Right now our polygon is opaque. We can make it completely see-through and change our border color to black. We can also click on our angle and change that. Again, if you want to get rid of the opaque view, you can change that and adjust whatever color you want. Now, here we can look at different options. I'm not going to get into sliders very much, but I will show you a use of sliders here on one of the presentations that I've created. But for general use, making polygons and graphing equations is going to be the most functions that you'll get out of here. But going back here to this, there are so many different features of GeoGebra, and there's a blog forum that you can actually search through and figure out more of the tools here. But if you notice, when I intersect that, I used one of these tools up here, but we could actually type in intersect and all of these different functions pop up. It says we'll put it in brackets and then we'll list the first object, comma, then the second object. Okay, we can use solve, and it'll solve different things there. We can use the function factor, and we can factor a polynomial. There's a lot of different things that you can do with GeoGebra. Last thing I want to show you is the stats function. So back up here when we went to those different math apps, there's a spreadsheet. Okay, so I have that brought up here. So I'm just going to type in, this looks just like an Excel or a Google spreadsheet document. I'm just going to type in some numbers here, and we can talk about different functions. Now I've got two different lists that I'm going to create so that we can see some analysis of different data here. I'll go ahead and select my cells, and then right here we've got one variable analysis or two variable regression analysis. I'm going to click on that, and then it has graphed an x and a y axis of these being my x coordinates and these being my y. Now it says we could also graph a regression model. Okay, I'm not sure if you're very familiar with that if you're not math, but it will try to fit the line of best fit. It will try to fit a polynomial to go through all those points, and then we can change that to a higher degree and it should get a little bit closer. Not available for this one. The cubic does work. But there's different regression models to try to fit that data the best it can. Okay, so that's just some of the features that we can use here. If we go over to the graph again, we can look at it as a histogram. We can change that to a bar chart, a box plot, or a dot plot. Okay, just letting you see different things that a graphing calculator can do, but also GeoGebra can do. Alright, so I promised you that I would log in and show you what the materials looked like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So here is my logged in account here, okay, and the benefit of creating an account is you can save the work that you have done. So these are some of the things that I've saved or created myself. So I'm going to show you on here the use of sliders. Okay, this is the triangle inequality theorem. I use this with my geometry students this year to show, or to have them think of, try to create themselves the inequality theorem. Okay, it states that any two legs, the sum of any two legs of a triangle, must be greater than the third leg. Okay, so to show them this, I had them set the final slider all the way to 10, and then set this one, we'll put it on 5, and just play around with what A could be to have a triangle exist. Okay, if you notice, A is 10, that works, but as soon as I get to A equals 5, the triangle goes away and it's a straight line. I wanted them to notice that the relationship, if I take 5 plus 5, I'm not greater than 10, so there's no triangle that exists there. So I had them play around with this so that they could see visually and come up with the triangle inequality theorem themselves. The best thing I think about GeoGebra is all of this material, without even creating an account, is absolutely free. If you want to, and I prefer to use the non-online version, you have the ability to download for free. That's what this section is for downloads. All of these different things, the math apps is what I have, and that allows us to see a lot of the different views here. It allows you to change it, but it has a free download for all of these different devices. And that allows you just to be off of the internet while you're doing these things. But there's a lot of different functions, and I really like GeoGebra out of any online grapher or online math tool that I've ever seen.